I just got done watching Ilia Topuria's appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience, featuring, of course, Joe Rogan and also Ilia Topuria. Now, Ilia Topuria had a very good appearance. For a guy who's speaking English as his, fourth language, he did very, very well. This was a very good appearance from Ilia Topuria, and I might make a separate video breaking down some of the moments that he had on the podcast, because this was a very big deal for him. He's the new superstar on the block in the UFC, just took out Holloway and Volkanovski back-to-back, and now he's on JRE, and it's getting loads and loads of views. Now, Joe Rogan did his best to ruin everything with his garbage MMA takes, okay? When Joe Rogan talks about MMA, I want to switch off. It's one of the main reasons I started my channel in the first place, because I remember watching back, Joe Rogan Fight Companions and listening to Joe Rogan Fight Companions and being like, I should do my own Fight Companions. These guys are waffling absolute garbage right now, okay? And don't get me wrong, I've had my moments as well, but I feel like when Joe Rogan talks about MMA, he has the same takes all the time. They never change. I reckon Joe Rogan comes with like 7 buttons on his back. One of them's about calf kicks, okay? That's all I'm going to say. We're going to get into a few of them today. One of them's about calf kicks. One of them, and this is the reason why I switched off the podcast when I first tried to give it a listen. One of them's about weight cutting being bad. A shocking, controversial take from Joe Rogan. We should do away with weight cutting, man. He always goes off about weight cutting. There's another button that makes him talk about, people forget, man. Look what he did to Cub Swanson. And he'll bring up some old school thing. And, maybe he'll bring back Pride Rules. And he has a couple other buttons that you can press. Maybe he'll mention, steel cups, helping arm bars. Do they still wear steel cups? They can help with an arm bar. And then he's just a few different buttons on Joe Rogan's back that you can press at any time. And those are his MMA takes. It really doesn't go much further than that. I'm not going to break down all of it because I probably will get copyrighted here. I'm risking it anyway. Joe Rogan had some interesting takes. He starts talking about weight cutting for the first 5 minutes. I switched it off, but I made myself sit through the rest of it because my chat was saying on my live stream that there were so many Roganisms in there that I had to throw in. He even said that John Jones never threw a spinning back kick before his finish against Stipe Miocic at one point here. It was wonderful, so strap yourself in. We got a lot to listen to. Now, Joe Rogan has some takes about MMA. I think these takes would destroy the sport if they were implemented. So this is why we have to keep Rogan away from having any power in the decision-making of the UFC. Let it play, Joe Rogan.
I don't even think they should fight in a cage.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, this is one of the buttons on his back, okay? I don't even think they should fight in the cage. All right. So what should they fight in instead, Joe Rogan?
Yeah, I think the cage is an unnecessary.
Wow.
I think
even Ilia's like, But I mean, I'm waiting to see where he goes with this one.
It's an unnecessary element in fighting. Like to push someone against something or to be able to get up from something.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
think it's necessary.
And how
I
would
think
you
they
would do
should
it?
be in like a basketball court. Like a basketball court that's matted up.
So because as we all know, guys, now listen, I've seen a few clips out there, okay, and I've watched some NBA myself. As we all know, all fights happen on basketball courts, guys. When Joe Rogan goes off on these takes, he wants to make it about realism. That, you shouldn't have something that you can push someone up against. There shouldn't be something that someone can work their way up from on bottom position against. We should have it on a basketball court. And the reason why Joe Rogan does this is because, and he won't say this, Rogan wants lay and pray grapplers. And you'll hear this as I go through this initial take of Joe Rogan here, where he's given what he would change about the sport. I don't understand why Joe Rogan seems to think that every single fight happens on a basketball court. Now, don't get me wrong. Just based on statistics, and the statistics of people that seem to quite often be on basketball courts, maybe there is a misrepresentative amount of fights happening on basketball courts compared to any other place. Okay? Maybe, just maybe. Okay? I didn't want to go there, but it was too easy. That was a layup. All right? But either way, fights don't happen on basketball courts. And Rogan's takes often have to do with, this isn't a real fight. You know, there wouldn't be a cage there. But most fights happen when there's something else there. We're in society. There's buildings. There's walls. There's a lot of these types of things. There are trees. You know? There are fences. Most of the time when a fight goes down, people end up being pushed into something when they happen. So I understand that he wants it in a basketball court. First of all, the logistics of that would be fucking awful because it would just lead to less entertaining fights. Counter-strikers would have a field day on their bike. Yusuf Salau in a basketball court? Good Lord. Please no. Do not let Yusuf Salau anywhere near MMA fighting on a basketball court because he would be off and around, you know, all over the place. You'd never track that guy down, okay? There'd be no reason for him to fight. I notice a lot of Joe Rogan's takes come to do with realism, and I think that's silly. You know? I really do. Most of the time in fights, you end up getting pushed up against something. I think a cage is more representative of what a fight would be in an enclosed space. Most fights happen in a room somewhere. You know, even if they're in the street, you've got buildings to get pushed up against into. And I just think this is such a dumb take. And all it would do is reward people that don't really want to scrap. And it's a combat sport. And I'm going to let Joe Rogan keep going, but we'll replay that bit again.
To push someone against something or to be able to get up from something. I don't think it's necessary.
And how
I think they should be in like a basketball court. Like a basketball court that's matted up. Have a big space. Have a warning track where you can't, if you go outside the warning track too many times, you could lose points.
Okay.
And
so unrealistic to be pushed up against something, but realistic. If you go outside these lines, you know, it's not necessary. I mean, think about that, you know? That doesn't really happen in real life. But, hey, you go outside these imaginary lines, we'll have points taken away on this matted up basketball court.
And so when someone takes you down, you have to actually get up. I also think at the end of a round, like say if you got a guy mounted at the end of the round, you start the next round mounted on him.
Of course.
I don't mind that take. I'm not just following along what Ilia Topuria agrees with and doesn't. Okay? I don't mind that take. I really don't. I think if a guy's holding you against a cage or he's in on your hips against a cage and he's clearly trying to avoid a fight, because I think what people think about grappling, they're so scared to say it's boring because then they'll sound like a casual. All right? So they're not allowed to say that it's boring. But we've had a few fighters, Torres Finney, for example, against Robert Valentin. In his debut, Robert Valentin. I don't know why I gave Robert some flair there. Robert Valentin versus Torres Finney. Torres Finney professionally avoided a fight for 15 straight minutes. No way round it. I agree with Joe Rogan's take, though. I don't think it could be implemented. I don't think it would make sense to be implemented. I don't think it should be, nor will it be at any point. But if we're going to have a conversation about rules that should be changed, I get it. If you have someone mounted or locked in a submission, it's unrealistic for them to be saved by the bell by, you know, they're in a submission, they're in a locked up submission, and then the bell sounds and all of a sudden they're just safe because the bell sounded. That's unrealistic, and it's kind of a point I could maybe get behind. Not one that I think should be implemented. I think the sport is fine. There's many other problems with the sport that we need to fix, okay? These are not the problems that we need to fix. I actually wouldn't mind an idea of an MMA fight, and I think this would make some headlines. If you're locked in a submission, no save by the bell. We're adding seconds until you get out of it, and then we can maybe go to the next round. Nor do I mind if someone's got you mounted and is ground and pounding you. For it to also carry over into the next round either. I don't mind it. I don't think it will be implemented. I don't think it should. I don't think it's the pressing issues of the sport right now. If you were to ask me like what the problems are with the sport, maybe I'll make an entire video about some problems I have with the sport right now, because there are many, okay? I don't think these are the pressing issues of our time as MMA fans. But I don't mind that one from Rogan.
Yeah, I don't think...
Of course.
Because why would you give him the advantage of getting up when he never got up? He never got up.
Never get
You
up.
have to earn a get up. You have to stand up by yourself.
I love it. I never thought about that, actually.
No stand-ups, ever. No stand-ups. Unless someone commits a foul. Like, if someone commits a foul and you want to stand them up and take a point away, that's fine. But if the guy's in the bottom and he commits a foul, like if a guy's in the bottom, he gouges someone's eyes on purpose, take a point away, put him right back in the same spot.
I disagree with no stand-ups. I think we should reward fighters, combat. That's what I think we should reward. I understand if someone's in mount position, like he will go on at some point in this podcast later on and bring up Maya having Usman's back. Another classic Roganism. That's button number 7 on his back, okay? And he'll bring up Maya having Usman's back. In those positions, of course, no separation. You know what I mean? If someone's got someone in mount and they've been there for a minute without doing too much, they're in mount. Let them work. You know what I mean? We'll see what happens here. They're in mount against someone. If you're in full guard on top of someone, or you're just holding someone down and they're on one knee against a cage, and you are in a dominant position, the Marab position as we like to call it, and you're not even kneeing their thigh, you know what? I'm so glad Torres Finney just fought, because he's the perfect example of this. Dominant position can be rewarding cowardice a lot of the time, okay? And we need to reward fighters that want to be in a combat sport if we want to thrive as some kind of sport. I think Rogan's ideas, unanimously, would absolutely fucking destroy the sport overnight. I really do. Fighters need to work to harm their opponents from positions, or achieve more dominant positions to where they can go for a submission, or, a TKO to ground and pound, or something along those lines. I'm not a fan of just letting someone lay and pray. I just don't think it's good. I understand Rogan's point on realism, but he contradicts himself later on in this very same point. He has this whole take of, that's not what a real fight is. Real fights happen on padded basketball courts with lines around the side that mean if you go outside of it, you get a point taken away. That's what real fighting is. There's no objects to be pushed up against in a real fight. I understand Rogan wants a real fight. I want a really good combat sport. That's the way I think about things. So I do agree with his take where maybe, someone has someone's back. Someone's got a choke locked in. Don't let him get saved by the bell. That's kind of dumb. That doesn't make any sense to me. Do I think it should be changed? I don't think it ever will. And it's not really something I really want to push on the sport right now. But I get it where he's coming from there. But dude, if someone's laying praying and they're just laying there and the guy on bottom's like working, but the guy is just hell-bent on keeping them in that position, there are guys that can just really take over this sport and be incredibly fucking dull. All right? Imagine if there was no pressure on Torres Finney to do any level of entertainment. Okay? No pressure, Marab. You just hold him right there. We would have no sport in a heartbeat. So there's idealism and then there's realism based on your ideas. And we need ideas that are going to make this sport better. Not worse by far.
Wow.
Because otherwise, like, say if you're fighting a guy like Alex Pereira, who's never taking anybody down. Mm-hmm. He's just going to strike with you, right?
Okay.
Why would you let him back up again and have the advantage of him standing up again?
Yeah.
The beginning of the round, he starts standing up again. Now you got to take him down again?
But also,
the idea of rounds is something that's very confusing to Joe Rogan. This is another button on his back. Maybe we'll add another extra few. There's probably about 15 of them.
You don't think...
Listen to what Ilia
says.
standing
up again. Now you got to take him down again?
But...
Listen to what Ilia says here. I'm so glad Ilia said this.
Also, you don't think that it's a part of the show?
You don't think that, it's trying to be fun? Joe? You don't think that these ideas are kind of here to give us like a combat sport, Joe Rogan?
It is a part of the show, but I don't give a fuck about that.
Keep Joe Rogan away! Keep Joe Rogan away from any ideas, okay? The ideas room should have a big no Joe Rogan sign on it, okay? It should have a big egg on the door with an X through it. No Rogans allowed, okay?
Yeah.
I'm a hardcore fan. I'm a purist.
I don't like that! I'm a hardcore fan. No stand-ups, no matter how boring the guy's being. Should be in a basketball court. I'm a purist. No, you're not. Dude, you're being boring to prove how hardcore you are. There's a whole plague of that right now. I really enjoy this. People watching the shittest fight they've ever seen. Oh, this is great to me. I'm a hardcore fan. We're here to watch a fight. Now, American fans might not get this, but European fans will absolutely understand. It's 6 a.m., knock somebody the fuck out or submit them. For the love of God, dude. Try and dominate a fight here. Please make this be more of a fight, a combat sport. That's what we need more of. But Americans, I'm sure, understand this as well. But there is a plague of Rogans. It should be boring. We need to reward people avoiding actual combat. Dude, if you're not doing anything on top position and you're laying there in full guard, purely trying to keep someone there and not let them up, and you're just going to lay there the whole round without doing any level of damage whatsoever. I understand if you're punching someone in the face over and over again and you're actively working on ground and pounding and they stand you up. It's bullshit. We all complain about those moments. But if you're not, Torres Finney should be separated from Robert Valentin for avoiding a fight for 15 minutes.
Think it should be about fighting, about elite fighting. And elite fighting is you got to get up.
Elite fighting is fighting Joe Rogan as well. I think Rogan thinks the laws of the get-ups are still back from year 2000, where someone would be menacingly ground and pounding someone, but just not brutal enough for one of the refs, so they just stand it up. Or someone would have hooks in the back, and then it would get separated. You know what I mean? Or have mount, but not be doing enough, and then it gets separated. That typically doesn't happen anymore. You only really get separated if you're actively trying to stall your way out of the contest. So I don't think this is a factor anymore. But Rogan's stuck in the year 2000 with a lot of his takes.
Like if a wrestler takes you down and he just does this to you and it's not entertaining. But if he can do that to you, that's tough shit.
That's how it, but that's, who's he battling against? If someone's got you down and they're punching you in the face over and over again, they ain't getting separated in MMA anymore, Joe. So what's the... We're not doing that anymore. You can hold someone against the cage and knee him in the thigh nowadays, and you ain't getting separated anymore. Merab's had a career of this. Okay? But Merab has become more fun as time has gone on. But there's a couple fights where, you know, that's just... This ain't happening anymore. But Rogan stuck 2 decades ago.
That's what he did.
You would change also the time range, like, or you would leave a 3 rounds of 5 minutes with 1 minute rest.
The good thing about 5-minute rounds, is it's sustainable and guys can fight at a high pace. If you had like just 15-minute round, guys would be exhausted. And the end of it would be sloppy. It wouldn't be the same. The pace would be much slower. It wouldn't be as good.
So what Joe Rogan is saying is that you need to add some level of non-realism to real fights to make them entertaining, which disproves a lot of his other points here. You know? It's unrealistic to be able to hold someone up against something. We shouldn't be doing this. That's not how it really is when fights go down. It should be on a basketball court. And even if not in this moment, he has a lot of these takes. Where it's just like, and in other moments, he has disagreed with the rounds being a thing. I don't think there should be rounds. Rounds are unrealistic. You know what I mean? Let's have the sport make no money with ad breaks or anything along those lines. But you've contradicted yourself. The reason why we have rounds is because it's good for the sport. It makes it more fun. It makes it a more serious combat sport. You know? And if one guy gets tired, the other guy's going to pour it on and get a finish, no less. But you can't play realism and this wouldn't happen in a real fight here and then also not have that across the board, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's nothing wrong with rounds, but I think it's one fight. It's not 5 fights. So why does he stand up at the end of every round? I think if a guy takes you down and he's got you mounted with like trapped an arm and he's punching your ribs trying to secure an arm triangle, why does he get to stand up again?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
That's true.
Especially
It's like stoner thoughts on an MMA fight, you know? I think there's so many more pressing issues with the sport. I agree with him on that, though. Like, yeah, that is lame. Cool. Dude, there's a lot more to discuss, you know?
if he's a striker and you wasted all that energy, get him to the ground, and you got so close to cinching up a submission, and then all of a sudden he's back on his feet again.
And then clink, you have to stand up.
And he didn't even earn it.
Yeah.
Start him right back down there.
That's
No
true.
cage, no stand-ups. No stand-ups ever. If everybody boos, tough shit. Go watch baseball. Go watch something else.
They will. No. Boring? It should be boring. I'm a hardcore fan. I love anything. It doesn't have to be fun for me. I'm such a hardcore fan. I want it to be boring. Stop watching this damn sport. Please, Dana White, if you're watching this video, you may watch some. Who knows? You keep this guy far away. You keep this man far away, dude. I need a fucking 5'7" gate. You know? At the bottom of the stairs that leads to the ideas room of the UFC. So Rogan knows he's not welcome. All right? That's honestly what we're going to need. Some kind of safety gate, some child safety gate at the bottom of the stairway. So Rogan can't get to the ideas room. That's honestly what we need to do. Because he just said it then. If you don't like it and you think it's boring, go watch baseball. More boring, by the way. Why baseball? You know what I mean? You could have said something else. We need to make the sport better. We need to reward fighters that actually want to be in there and fight. No, we don't need to reward fighters that want to actually be in there and fight. We need to just not reward people that don't want to do that. That actively don't want to be in a combat sport. Seriously. We need to make sure to separate those positions. Torres Finney, thank God you fought recently. I advise anyone to go watch it. He avoided a combat sport for 15 minutes. I'm not saying Habib, Makhachev. We need to make sure these guys, no. They get people down. They fuck them up. Makhachev gets people down. He's chasing subs. He's chasing dominant positions so he can go for a ground and pound TKO. He's looking for the back. I'm not saying that needs to be stopped. At any point, grappling is good for the sport. But there's levels. And the new age technique of MMA discussion where you just act like you enjoy everything to prove you're hardcore must stop. Now, here's another button on the back of Joe Rogan here. Okay? I can't show you all the moments, but there are so many. But here's another moment in this from Joe Rogan. And before, I'm just going to say people forget, man. That's all I'm going to say about this next moment that we're going to go through. I'm just going to say people forget, man. Okay? Now, maybe you'll understand where this is going once you hear the first word.
Because, like, think about the calf kick.
You know where it's going. You know what name's getting brought up. You know that Rogan only said this so he could bring up the name that he's about to say. Think about the calf kick. Okay? We ain't heard that one before. All right? Every fucking pay-per-view, Rogan's got a telescope and he just sort of switches between each fighter's lead leg on their shin. And that's all he does. He analyzes the damage on both. That lead leg's swelling up. He's going to have problems on that leg. 10 times out of 10, the guy don't have problems on that leg at any point moving forward. But trust me, he will do if he takes one more. It's all good, though.
There was no calf kicks. Forever.
Yeah. I don't know when they started with the calf kicks.
Benson.
Ah! I tried to pause it, but I couldn't stop. Rogan was too ready for it. I was going to pause it when Ilia asked that and said, "You've just fallen into Joe Rogan's trap." But I couldn't do it fast enough. Rogan was ready. All right? He was ready. You fell right into his trap, Ilia Topuria. What a fool you are, dude. You've activated Rogan's Benson Henderson card. People forget, man.
Kicks. Forever.
Yeah. I don't know when they started with the calf kicks.
Benson Henderson.
Ready. Dude, there was no hesitation. Ilia did not see. Dude, Ilia, you got fucking blindsided by a Rogan special. That's what just happened there, dude. How'd you feel, Ilia? We need a post-fight interview from Ilia Topuria, dude, on how he feels to just be blindsided by a Rogan special. That was a Joe Rogan vintage move. Okay, you thought you just saw vintage Volkanovski? Nothing on vintage Joe Rogan, dude. If Ilia then were to ask, are they still wearing steel cups? Oh, dude, then it's going off. Then it is going off. Look at his face. Benson Henderson. You know, the true Socrates of MMA right here.
Benson Henderson.
Benson Henderson. He was the first guy I ever saw do him. He was doing a lot, and I remember pointing it out. Like, he wasn't doing it as effectively, where he was like crippling guys' movement, but he was doing it a lot.
Joe Rogan, man. Joe Rogan and his calf kicks, dude. He loves them. Loves the calf kicks. There's another moment I wanted to go over here as well that I was saving for the end. 1:45:44 into the podcast. 1:45:44. Yes, I watched through the whole thing. Here we go. This is about Jon Jones. All right, it didn't take us long to get to Jon Jones in the pod. It did. It took a while. But we're going to get straight into Jon Jones. There's something Joe Rogan can't help but say.
Fade.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think John's a conqueror. I think
he is.
I think he can't sit back.
He's the best of all time. No.
Yeah, but if you're including roid cheats, dude, no one's coming close to Jon Jones legacy-wise. Forget that we have everyone else that could be also on the GOAT list right now that's achieving things actively on the sport that we can assume isn't on anything. If you're including PED failures, and for some reason we do that, dude, Jon Jones is the greatest of all time.
No one can say the opposite of that. He's the best.
Look, the guy developed a spinning back kick at 36.
Yeah.
It hurts me, yeah. Because I was a Rogan viewer. Rogan taught me the early stages of what to know about MMA. But it feels like beyond that, there just ain't much. Just dropping that nuke on Ilia Topuria real quick. Jon Jones developed a spinning back kick at 36 years old. The look that he had. Just dropping that nuke on you real quick. Just to prove how good Jon Jones is.
The guy developed a spinning back kick at 36.
Yeah.
Didn't have a spinning back kick his whole career. And then all of a sudden knocks out Stipe with a spinning back kick for the heavyweight title at 36, 37 years old. That's crazy.
Didn't have a spinning back kick his whole career. All of a sudden, he knocks out Stipe Miocic for the heavyweight title with a spinning back kick. That's crazy. Now I take you over to a video on YouTube titled Jon Jones' Best Spinning Back Kicks. Now this is... Shout out to Fred Jack's Fights, who's the channel that made this video. Now this is a compilation, a 3-minute long compilation of all of Jon Jones' greatest spinning back kicks that he's thrown throughout his career. And I'll tell you, dude, there's some good ones in here that he goes for, okay? There's a lot. Now, he's gone him against, Stephan Bonner, he's landing him, and, Thiago Santos. This is recent MMA history, okay? You don't need to go back even far, like some of the earlier fights in his career where he's landed these spinning back kicks. Santos. This is the secondary run of Jon Jones. Thiago Santos, he's landing spinning back kicks. Glover Teixeira, you can go back earlier. Glover Teixeira, he's landing spinning back kicks. Lyoto Machida, he's landing spinning back kicks, okay? You name an opponent of Jon Jones, he's landed spinning back kicks on him, guys. All right? You name him. Back to Thiago Santos again. I think this is Rashad Evans. Or maybe Rampage. I don't want to judge. Who is that? That's Rampage. It's Rampage. There you go. That he's landing spinning back kicks on. Alexander Gustafsson. I mean, we can go through... I don't want to play the footage here because I know the UFC's... They've got eyes like a hawk for me. Okay? Trying to get me on some copyright stuff. I sense it. Daniel Cormier. You name a Jon Jones opponent, he's hit him with his... And you know what I'm going to say? A spinning back kick is Jon Jones' signature move. It's one of them. For a heavier guy. Now, Jon Jones has signature moves like his elbows. His spinning elbow. You name a spinning, standing guillotine. Dude, the guillotine of Jon Jones, oof, watch out for his guillotine. His oblique kick. There are other signature moves that Jon Jones has. Okay? Oblique kick where he snaps the knee backwards with a kick and, eye pokes, elbows that he goes spinning elbows. Those are the signature moves of John Jones. Like knee as you come in and try and close the distance. He'll throw a big knee up the middle to the body, to the midsection. That's another signature move from John Jones. Those are his signature moves. But for a heavier fighter, in light heavyweight and heavyweight, Jones is, I would argue, the guy that throws spinning back kicks in those divisions. In the top 2 divisions in the UFC, the heavy and the light heavy. He's the spinning back kick guy. You name an opponent, Jones has hit him with it. As you can see him, against Gustafsson, we've got 3 different still images of him about to land a spinning back kick. OSP. Name an opponent. Multiple different instances of him using it. Anthony Smith. Poor Smith. You know it's coming. Bang. Straight to the midsection of Anthony Smith. I don't know if you can see that, but, he's still got the mark on his toe from the great Chael Sonnen. But that's another spinning back kick to the body from John Jones. His signature move. Okay, another one that he lands on Smith. And more. Glover Teixeira again. And then he crumples Stipe Miocic with one as well. To say that John Jones didn't throw one until he was 36 years old and drop it like some kind of nuke to describe how good John Jones is maybe the most insane thing I've ever heard. And let's face it, the voice of MMA say
he's the best.
Look, the guy developed a spinning back kick at 36.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave it there, I think. There were a few other moments in this. Let me know if you want me to do a breakdown of what Ilia was saying on the pod, because he had some good moments. I'm just going to leave it on Joe Rogan's do you ever think about that face? I'll leave it there for the end. But there were so many other moments in this where Ilia was kind of getting flowing. And Ilia was doing a good job. You know what I actually saw this interview as? Ilia was kind of clip farming Joe Rogan on JRE because he kept asking him this would be a good YouTube clip that could go viral. I'll ask you about this. Any question Ilia asked Joe Rogan, who's your favorite fighter? Who are the fighters you like to see? Now, these are good questions to ask, of course, just for a conversational sense. But he was hitting a lot of key things that could strike the algorithm in terms of what questions he was asking Rogan. Rogan was just bringing up his same old nonsensical fun facts about MMA the entire way through. I'm not a hater of Joe Rogan. I am. When it comes to his commentary on MMA, I think Rogan's a pretty good guy. I'm not saying to just hate Rogan as a person because of these things. But man, we need a level up on mainstream MMA dialogue. I'm glad that MMA YouTube has come along the way that it has. With me, Lucas Tracy, Bedtime MMA. There's been a level up in YouTube dialogue. And it seems to me that these corporate guys, man, they have the same points. The guys on ESPN, the guys on the analyst desk of ESPN after the events that do the coverage there. The big figureheads in MMA that most people will be like, you got to go to him to understand the sport. Oh, he knows everything about the sport. Most of these guys are completely outdated in their opinions on the sport and have no idea about the pressing issues. I don't want to be like a Jaden Smith here, we've got more important things to discuss, but man, we're still yapping on about weight cut's bad. That's crazy, man. I ain't heard you say that before, Joe. Who invented the calf kick? Oh, here he goes about Benson Henderson again. I can imagine being at a dinner at Joe Rogan's house where Joe Rogan's wife is just there praying someone don't mention calf kicks. You know what I mean? She probably hears more about Benson Henderson than anyone else at the Rogan household. Scared whenever Rogan has friends over. Heaven forbid someone brings up steel cups. Joe Rogan on commentary. I'll give some personal takes here as well. Rogan on commentary will, and he does this without fail nearly every single time, he will bring up the cups, the Muay Thai cups that are steel, that will affect an armbar a little differently and make it more severe and make you more able to get an armbar because of the discomfort that it puts on the joint when people have you in that position. And he will lay that up once an event that he covers. Once, it's just one of his hot takes that he loves to do. If he sees even a glimpse of an armbar. They still using steel cups? Yes, Joe Rogan. You know they're still using it, Rogan. You've asked this question 1,000 times in your life. We know you're going to say that they can help armbars. And it's just... I don't know, man. It feels like a lot of Rogan's takes are just... they're casual takes, man. I don't want to be the Karen of MMA that just goes in on all these guys, but man, this is just, it hurts me, and we need great change. It hurts me that a casual fan or someone that doesn't know anything about MMA will be led to Joe Rogan to understand it in its entirety. Oh, you want to go to him? He's the know-it-all round here. He's the genius round these parts, dude. You want to know everything about MMA? Pfft, Joe Rogan's your guy. I can't believe, John. And then that same person will then come back from like a Joe Rogan experience about MMA. And you see it right now in the sport, man. I'm going to say it right now. I'm going to increase my webcam here. Jump scare warning. You see it right now in the sport more than ever. Dude, I'm seeing comments that are the dumbest shit ever in the sport. And I think this is the reason. I'm seeing comments on Instagram pages. There used to be a TikTok only thing where someone would send like dude, are you seeing, I'd see on Twitter, you seeing these fucking TikTok comments? These are the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But, you know, TikTokers are dumb. They're kids. Kids are getting dumber and dumber. It's just the culture shift. So they're retarded. Then they're beyond saving over there. But now I'm seeing on like ESPN posts on Instagram these takes about John Jones and, you know, these things about the sport and that thing about the sport, this, that, and the other, and all of these takes that are the dumbest things I've ever heard. And I'm just like, damn, dude, what's Rogan doing to the culture of this sport, man? What are these big talking heads doing to the new generation of MMA fan? That you can just see are parroting their talking points in comment sections. And it will be the dumbest thing you've ever heard. We've got a real problem with that. Especially on Twitter. But Twitter, I think they do it ironically. They're being ironically dumb to get engagement. And they're engagement farming. But on Instagram comment sections, when I see an ESPN MMA post, and I'll see like a couple good comments. And I'll see one with like the most likes. And it's the dumbest shit I've ever read. It's the dumbest shit I've ever read. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. We need a culture shift, dude. Next time a casual person asks you, hey, I want to know more about MMA. I'm just getting into it. Who should I go to? Dude, push him towards bedtime MMA or something, you know? You know? Just do something. Yeah, we can't have this. We can't have these guys being indoctrinated by Rogan. I bet you I'll see in an Instagram comment section soon. It's crazy that he developed this spinning back kick at 36. And it will have a few hundred likes. On like a recap, like a year from now, since the Stipe KO from John Jones, it will be posted. You know? It's been a year since John Jones' legendary spinning back kick on Stipe. There'll be a comment with hundreds of likes saying, I can't believe he added this to his game at 36. Crazy. See you later. Goodbye. Toodle pip.